The morning sun painted golden streaks across the Pacific Ocean as project director Dr. Kumar adjusted her protective gear one final time. Her heart raced with anticipation. This wasn't just another test run. After 15 years of working in complete secrecy, their groundbreaking creation was finally ready to emerge from its underwater cradle. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, in a facility larger than 3 football fields, the USS Prometheus waited. Its obsidian hull gleamed under the massive underwater floodlights, looking more like a piece of abstract art than a military vessel. The quantum core at its heart pulsed with a soft blue glow, visible through specialized viewing ports that could withstand the incredible energies contained within. Dr. Kumar walked through the command center, touching the shoulders of her team members for good luck, a habit she developed during their years together. These brilliant minds had become her second family, all of them united by a single purpose: protecting Earth. The recent discovery of the approaching Arcturian fleet had only confirmed what they had feared when they started this project. Humanity wasn't alone, and not everyone out there was friendly. The massive screens surrounding them displayed real-time data from their deep space monitoring stations. The Arcturian ships, still beyond Mars orbit, moved with terrifying precision. Their crystalline vessels looked beautiful in the telescope feeds, but everyone knew the destruction they had caused across other star systems. 17 civilizations had fallen to their advanced technology. Earth was meant to be their 18th conquest. "All systems are showing green," announced the lead engineer, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The quantum core's energy readings were stable, defying everything they had previously understood about physics. They had achieved what the scientific community had deemed impossible, harnessing quantum mechanics on a massive scale. In the observation deck, Dr. Kumar watched as the massive underwater doors began to open. Decades of theoretical work, countless failures, and endless nights of refinement had led to this moment. The Prometheus represented humanity's greatest technological leap, a vessel that could manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. The initial test results had been beyond their wildest expectations. The ship's quantum signature made it completely invisible to conventional sensors. Its storm-harnessing system could gather and channel atmospheric energy in ways that seemed like magic, even to the scientists who had designed it. But most importantly, it represented hope, proof that humanity could innovate beyond its perceived limitations. As the countdown began, Dr. Kumar thought about her grandson, barely 5 years old, playing in their backyard just last weekend. He had looked up at the stars with such wonder, unaware that his grandmother was part of a project that would determine the fate of those very stars. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship, it was a guardian, a protector of Earth's future, of all the children who deserved to look up at the stars with hope rather than fear. Water began draining from the massive chamber. Huge pumps worked overtime, preparing for the moment when their creation would taste open air for the first time. The quantum core's hum grew louder, resonating through the facility's structure. Years of simulations were about to be put to the ultimate test, and failure wasn't an option, not with the Arcturian fleet approaching, not with everything at stake. Dr. Kumar gripped the railing of the observation deck, her knuckles white. Somewhere above them, the ocean waited to meet humanity's greatest achievement. And beyond that, in the cold depths of space, an alien armada approached, unaware that their expected easy conquest was about to become the greatest surprise of their civilization's history. Through the underwater cameras, everyone watched in awe as the massive doors continued to open. The Prometheus was about to make history, and not a single person in the control room dared to blink. Years of their lives had led to this moment, and they were determined to witness every second of it. The first rays of sunlight pierced the depths, creating ethereal beams through the disturbed water. The ship's quantum core responded immediately, its energy signature shifting and adapting to the changing environment. This wasn't just metal and machinery rising from the ocean, it was humanity's dreams taking physical form. Beginning ascent sequence, called out the lead engineer, his voice filled with a mix of pride and nervousness. On screens across the facility, numbers and readings flashed as the ship's systems engaged one by one. The quantum drive hummed to life, its revolutionary technology allowing the massive vessel to defy gravity with an elegance that seemed impossible for its size. Water cascaded off the dark hull as the Prometheus broke the surface for the first time. The sight brought tears to many eyes in the control room. Satellite feeds showed the magnificent vessel emerging like a gentle giant, causing barely a ripple despite its enormous size. Military leaders watching from secure bunkers worldwide leaned forward in their chairs, their hopes riding on this moment. The ship's storm harnessing systems activated automatically, responding to the atmospheric electricity around it. Tiny arcs of lightning danced across its surface, a display that would have seemed like magic to anyone who didn't understand the quantum principles behind it. The sky itself seemed to respond to the Prometheus's presence, clouds swirling in patterns that defied natural weather behavior. In the command center, the team watched their monitors with intense focus. Every reading, every number told the story of success that had seemed impossible just years ago. The quantum core was performing beyond their highest expectations, channeling enough energy to power a small continent while maintaining perfect stability. Through secured video feeds, world leaders and top military brass observed in stunned silence. This was more than just a new military vessel, it was proof that humanity could achieve the impossible when united by a common purpose. The Prometheus represented the combined efforts of scientists from dozens of countries, each contributing their expertise to create something greater than any single nation could have achieved alone. As the ship rose higher into the dawn sky, its systems continued to adapt and evolve. The quantum signature that made it invisible to conventional senses was working perfectly. Even their own tracking systems struggled to maintain a lock on the vessel. In orbit, civilian satellites passed overhead, their sensors registering nothing but empty ocean where the massive ship floated. The project coordinator pressed her hand against the reinforced window, watching their creation with motherly pride. They had all sacrificed so much for this moment, missed birthdays, lost sleep, strained relationships. But seeing the Prometheus rise, knowing what it meant for Earth's future, made every sacrifice worth it. High above, the ship finally reached its designated holding position, hovering silently above the Pacific. Its dark hull reflected the morning sun, while its quantum systems continued to bend light and energy around it in ways that seemed to defy the laws of physics. To anyone watching from the shore, the sky would have appeared empty, humanity's greatest achievement hiding in plain sight. The first test was a success, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, the Arcturian fleet continued its approach, unaware that their expected easy conquest had just become vastly more complicated. Humanity had done more than just build a ship, they had changed the rules of the game entirely. The message that changed everything arrived on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Every screen in the control center suddenly flickered, then filled with strange, crystalline symbols that slowly transformed into Earth's languages. The project coordinator gripped her coffee mug tighter, her knuckles turning white as she read the words that confirmed their worst fears. The Arcturian transmission was cold and direct. Earth had 24 hours to surrender its resources or face complete annihilation. They spoke of their victories over 17 other civilizations, like someone might list grocery items, casual, matter-of-fact, routine. To them, Earth was just another conquest, another resource-rich world to add to their collection. In the underground facility, the team watched the message replay again and again. The Arcturians showed footage from their previous conquests, crystal ships tearing through planetary defenses like paper, entire cities reduced to ash in moments. It was meant to frighten humanity into submission, to convince Earth that resistance was pointless. But what the aliens didn't know was that their transmission was being watched from the bridge of the Prometheus. The quantum-powered vessel remained completely invisible to their long-range scans, which showed only Earth's conventional military assets, aging nuclear submarines and traditional spacecraft. The project coordinator allowed herself a small smile. For once, humanity had a secret weapon that no one saw coming. Military leaders worldwide connected through secure channels, their faces grim but determined. The Arcturians had given them 24 hours, expecting panic and surrender. Instead, they found humanity quietly preparing for the fight of its existence. In bunkers and bases across the globe, forces mobilized with a calmness that would have surprised their would-be conquerors. Inside the Prometheus's quantum core chamber, engineers made final adjustments. The ship's revolutionary systems had exceeded every expectation during its first flight, but now they needed it to do even more. The storm-harnessing technology crackled with potential, ready to show the Arcturians that humanity wasn't the primitive species they assumed. The team watched their deep space monitors as the alien fleet crossed Mars' orbit. The crystalline vessels moved with unnatural precision, their formation perfect, showcasing the technological superiority he was so proud of. Yet with each passing hour, their approaching fleet was giving the Prometheus's crew valuable data about their movement patterns and energy signatures. Throughout the ship, crew members shared quiet moments between preparations. They looked at photos of their families, sent messages home without revealing their location, and drew strength from each other. These weren't just soldiers and scientists, they were parents, children, friends, united by the understanding that they carried humanity's hopes with them. As the deadline approached, the project coordinator walked through the ship's corridors, checking on her crew. In every face, she saw not fear, but determination. The Arcturians had expected to find a frightened, primitive species scrambling to surrender. Instead, they were about to meet a humanity they never knew existed, one that had quietly leaped centuries ahead in technology while staying off their radar. The quantum core's hum filled the ship with a reassuring pulse, like a heartbeat. On the bridge, officers reviewed battle plans that would have seemed like science fiction just months ago. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's answer to those who thought they could simply take what they wanted from Earth. The 24-hour deadline was almost up. Around the world, people huddled in shelters, unaware that their planet's greatest defense floated silently above them, hidden from both Earth's population and the approaching alien fleet. The Arcturians were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity's ability to innovate, to adapt, and to defend what was theirs. The journey to the dark side of the moon began in complete silence. The Prometheus moved through space like a shadow, its quantum systems bending light and energy around its hull. 300 crew members held their breath as Earth grew smaller behind them, the blue planet looking so peaceful despite the approaching threat. In the ship's main corridor, the project coordinator stopped to watch their homeworld through a reinforced viewport. A young engineer paused beside her, clutching a tablet with system readings. "My daughter asked me this morning if the stars would still be there tomorrow," he said quietly. "I promised her they would shine brighter than ever." The Prometheus's quantum core performed flawlessly as they navigated past old satellites and space debris. Unlike conventional engines that blazed through space, their ship moved like water flowing around rocks in a stream, smooth, natural, impossible to track. Every movement defied traditional physics in ways that would have made their old university professors faint. Below deck, the crew made final preparations in the storm-harnessing chambers. The technology that had seemed like a fever dream 5 years ago now hummed with controlled power. They had learned to capture and channel atmospheric energy on Earth. In space, they would soon discover what their creation could really do. As they approached the moon, the ship's sensors detected the Arcturian fleet's advanced probes passing Mars. The alien vessels moved with military precision, their crystalline structures catching the distant sunlight. The crew watched through their monitors, studying every detail of the ships that had brought destruction to so many other worlds. The dark side of the moon welcomed them like an old friend, its cratered surface providing the perfect hiding spot. The project coordinator walked through the ship's command center, where tactical officers plotted possible engagement scenarios. Their faces glowed in the light of holographic displays, showing the approaching Arcturian fleet's formation. In the medical bay, doctors and nurses checked their supplies one final time. They weren't just preparing for potential injuries, they were making history with the first human medical facility to operate under quantum field conditions. A young doctor adjusted equipment while looking at a photo of her nephew, reminding herself why every person on this ship had chosen to face the unknown. The quantum core's steady pulse echoed through the ship's corridors as crew members shared quiet conversations during shift changes. They talked about their homes, their families, their hopes for after this mission. Some spoke of returning to their favorite coffee shops, others of attending their children's school plays. These simple dreams gave weight to their purpose. Reports from Earth's long-range sensors kept streaming in, tracking the Arcturian fleet's approach. The alien armada moved with the confidence of conquerors who had never known defeat. Their transmission frequencies buzzed with communications they thought were secure, unaware that the Prometheus's quantum systems could decode their overconfident chatter. The project coordinator studied the latest data in her private quarters, her fingers tracing the path their ship had taken. The Prometheus had already achieved what most thought impossible, moving through space in ways that violated everything the Actarians understood about physics. But soon, they would need to do much more than just hide. As the hours passed, tension built throughout the ship. Not from fear, but from the weight of purpose. Each crew member knew their role in the coming confrontation, understood what was at stake. They were humanity's best hope, chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think beyond conventional limits. The Actarians would arrive soon, expecting to find a primitive civilization cowering before their superior technology. Instead, they would encounter something they had never seen before, a humanity that had quietly mastered quantum mechanics while staying hidden from prying eyes. The crew of the Prometheus carried not just Earth's hopes, but the accumulated dreams and determination of every person who had worked in secret for 15 years to make this moment possible. The first Actarian scout ships entered Earth's orbit like diamond shards catching sunlight. Their crystalline vessels moved with practiced precision, spreading out in a search pattern they had used countless times before. The project coordinator watched from the Prometheus's bridge, her hand steady as she held her cup of tea, waiting for the perfect moment. Down in the quantum core chamber, engineers monitored their systems with intense focus. The ship's revolutionary technology kept them completely invisible, even as alien scanners swept past their location. One young engineer smiled as he watched the enemy ships pass by for the third time, their sensors detecting nothing but empty space where the Prometheus silently waited. The alien vessels were beautiful in a terrifying way. Their transparent hulls revealed intricate networks of energy flowing through crystal chambers, technology that had conquered 17 civilizations. They moved through space as if they owned it, their arrogance clear in every calculated maneuver. They had no idea they were being studied just as carefully as they were studying Earth. On the bridge's main screen, the crew watched the Actarian flagship emerge from its faster-than-light bubble. It dwarfed its escort vessels, its crystalline structure so massive it cast a shadow on the moon's surface. The project coordinator felt her crew's tension rise. This was the ship that had led the destruction of so many worlds. "All stations, prepare for Phase 1, she announced, her voice calm despite the weight of the moment. Throughout the Prometheus, crew members took their positions. In the storm-harnessing chambers, specialists activated their systems, ready to show the aliens something they had never encountered before. The Prometheus moved silently through space, positioning itself with impossible precision. Their quantum drive allowed them to glide between the alien vessels undetected, like a ghost passing through walls. The project coordinator couldn't help but imagine the shock these conquerors were about to experience. Years of secret development were about to pay off in spectacular fashion. Through the viewports, crew members watched the Actarian ships with a mix of awe and determination. These vessels had brought terror to countless worlds, but today they faced something new. Humanity hadn't just prepared for defense, they had revolutionized their understanding of physics itself. The moment arrived with perfect timing. The Prometheus materialized beside the Actarian flagship, seeming to blink into existence from nowhere. The quantum tunneling effect they had perfected made it appear as if their ship had simply decided to exist in that exact spot, defying every law of physics the aliens understood. On their monitors, they watched the Actarian ship's energy patterns spike chaotically. Alarms blared across the alien fleet as their sensors tried desperately to understand what they were seeing. The flagship's crystalline structure pulsed with emergency lights, its crew scrambling to respond to something that should have been impossible. The project coordinator allowed herself a small smile as she watched the alien vessels attempt to adjust their positions. Their formation, once perfect, now broke apart in confusion. The mighty conquerors suddenly looked like startled birds, their confidence shattered by the appearance of a ship that broke every rule they knew. In the quantum core chamber, engineers worked with practiced precision to maintain their advantage. The ship's systems performed flawlessly, each innovation they had developed in secret now proving its worth. The storm-gathering arrays hummed with potential energy, ready to demonstrate just how far humanity had advanced. Through it all, the crew maintained their focus, each person knowing their role in this crucial moment. They weren't just soldiers or scientists. They were representatives of humanity's potential, proof that determination and innovation could overcome any obstacle. As the Octarian fleet scrambled to respond to their presence, the Prometheus held its position, a dark sentinel revealing that humanity was far more than these conquerors had assumed. The moment had come to show the true power of human innovation. The project coordinator stood on the bridge, her voice clear and steady as she gave the command. Activate the storm-gathering systems. Around her, crew members moved with practiced precision, their fingers dancing across control panels as they initiated the sequence they had rehearsed countless times. The quantum core's hum changed pitch, rising to a sound that seemed to vibrate through every molecule of the ship. In the specialized chambers below deck, engineers watched in awe as energy readings climbed higher than they had ever achieved during testing. The Prometheus was about to demonstrate why 15 years of secret development had been worth every sleepless night. Space itself seemed to ripple around the ship as the quantum systems engaged fully. The storm-gathering arrays extended from the hull like dark petals opening to catch starlight. An engineer in the control room clutched his lucky pen, the same one he used to sketch the first designs of these arrays years ago on a coffee-stained napkin. Now they were about to prove his wild ideas weren't so impossible after all. The effect began slowly at first, a slight distortion in the space around the Prometheus that the Octarian sensors struggled to classify. Then it grew, expanding outward like ripples in a pond. The project coordinator watched the alien ship's reactions through their main viewport. Their crystalline vessels shifted position, trying to maintain formation as space itself seemed to twist around them. Inside the storm-gathering chambers, specialists monitored the building energy with intense focus. They weren't just creating a weapon, they were reshaping the very fabric of space-time using principles that had seemed like science fiction just years ago. The quantum core pulsed with blue-white energy, channeling power in ways that defied conventional physics. 3 Octarian vessels found themselves caught in the phenomenon before they could react. Their advanced shields, which had protected them through countless conquests, proved useless against this new form of physics. The aliens had prepared for every known form of attack, but they had never encountered anything like the quantum storm now engulfing their ships. The effect was beautiful in a terrifying way. Space warped and twisted, creating patterns of energy that looked like lightning frozen in time. The crew watched through protected viewports as their years of work manifested in a display of power that would have seemed like magic to their grandparents' generation. In the quantum core chamber, the young engineer who had first proposed this particular application watched with tears in his eyes. His colleagues had called him crazy 5 years ago when he suggested they could harness quantum effects on this scale. Now, as the storm raged around the alien vessels, his crazy theory was saving Earth. The Octarian ship's crystal hulls reflected the quantum storm's energy in spectacular patterns, but their technology couldn't cope with the fundamental rewriting of physics happening around them. Their engines struggled, their weapons remained powerless, and for the first time in their history of conquest, they faced something they couldn't understand or overcome. Through it all, the crew of the Prometheus worked with quiet efficiency. This wasn't about revenge or showing off. It was about protecting their home, about ensuring that children on Earth could grow up looking at the stars with wonder instead of fear. Each person on board knew they were part of something larger than themselves. The project coordinator watched as the 3 caught Octarian vessels hung suspended in the quantum storm, their once mighty technology rendered useless by human innovation. She thought about all the late nights, the failed experiments, the moments of doubt they had pushed through to reach this point. Humanity had done more than just create a new weapon, they had changed the rules of what was possible. Around her, the bridge crew maintained their focus, monitoring systems, and adjusting power levels with practiced care. They had trained for this moment, but seeing their technology actually work against the alien vessels brought a quiet pride to every person on board. Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was showing the galaxy that humanity was far more capable than anyone had imagined. Something unprecedented happened in the silent void of space. The Octarian flagship, its crystal hull still shimmering with residual energy from the quantum storm, transmitted a request that none of their conquered worlds had ever received. They asked to talk. The project coordinator read the message twice, sharing a meaningful look with her bridge crew. History was about to change. Down in the communications center, specialists worked quickly to decode the alien transmission. The message was different from their earlier ultimatum. Gone was the arrogant tone of inevitable conquest. Instead, the words carried a note of respect, perhaps even fear. The mighty Arcturian fleet, undefeated across 17 solar systems, wanted to parley. The quantum core hummed steadily as the Prometheus maintained its defensive position. Through the viewports, crew members watched the 3 disabled Arcturian ships drift helplessly in the aftermath of the quantum storm. Their crystal structures, once so proud and threatening, now seemed fragile against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. The Supreme Commander of the Arcturian fleet requested a meeting aboard the Prometheus, another first in their history of conquest. They had never before set foot on another civilization's vessel. The project coordinator gathered her senior staff in the conference room, its walls still gleaming with that new ship smell. They had prepared for battle, but diplomacy required a different kind of courage. In the preparation hours before the meeting, the ship buzzed with contained excitement. Engineers ran final checks on the quantum core, ensuring their technological advantage remained clear and present. Security teams established protocols, their movements precise but not threatening. This wasn't just about showing strength, it was about showing wisdom. The moment the Arcturian delegation stepped onto the Prometheus was captured by dozens of hidden cameras. Their crystalline environment suits caught the light differently from their ships, making them look almost beautiful. The project coordinator noticed how their leaders tried to hide their amazement at the quantum technology surrounding them, but their wide eyes gave them away. Inside the main conference room, human innovation was on full display. The quantum core's energy flowed visibly through transparent conduits in the walls, a subtle reminder of humanity's achievement. The Arcturian Supreme Commander, standing taller than any human, studied everything with an expression that mixed disbelief with growing respect. The initial words were cautious on both sides, like 2 masters of different martial arts sizing each other up. But as the project coordinator explained the basics of their quantum technology, she watched understanding dawn in the alien leader's eyes. They were beginning to grasp that humanity had achieved something their civilization had never even thought possible. Throughout the ship, crew members continued their duties while stealing glances at the security feeds showing the historic meeting. A young engineer in the quantum core chamber smiled as she heard snippets of the discussion about their technology. The aliens' questions revealed just how completely humanity had surprised them. The atmosphere shifted from tense to curious as the Arcturian leaders asked more questions about the quantum storm technology. Their scientific advisors, quickly grasping the implications, spoke in excited tones about principles they had never considered. What had started as a confrontation was transforming into an exchange of ideas. In a quiet moment, the project coordinator noticed something remarkable. The Arcturian Supreme Commander was showing genuine emotion for the first time. The alien leader spoke of how their technological superiority had led them to forget the joy of discovery, the thrill of encountering truly new ideas. Humanity's quantum breakthrough had done more than just stop their conquest, it had reminded them of what they had lost in their relentless expansion. As the discussions continued, the crew of the Prometheus felt the weight of the moment. Through innovation and determination, they had not only protected Earth, but possibly changed the course of interstellar relations forever. The quantum storm had done more than demonstrate power, it had opened a door to something entirely new. The meeting moved from the conference room to the quantum core chamber, where human ingenuity was on full display. The project coordinator walked alongside the Arcturian leaders, watching their crystalline faces reflect the blue glow of the core. Their scientific advisors reached out with scanning devices, then pulled back, remembering they were guests here, not conquerors. "We approached physics from a different angle," the project coordinator explained, her voice carrying pride but not arrogance. She described how Earth's unique challenges had pushed humanity to think beyond conventional solutions. While the Arcturians had focused on perfecting existing technology, humans had been forced to imagine entirely new possibilities. In the observation gallery above the core, engineers who had worked on the project for years watched the aliens examine their creation. One older engineer clutched a worn notebook filled with the original calculations that had seemed impossible at the time. Now those same equations had stopped an interstellar war before it began. The Arcturian scientists were particularly fascinated by the storm-gathering arrays. Through translators, they explained how their civilization had never considered using quantum mechanics in this way. Their technology had evolved along straight lines, each advancement building directly on the last. Humanity's leap sideways into new theoretical territory had completely blindsided them. Throughout the ship, crew members carried on with their duties while stealing glances at the unusual procession. The Arcturians, who had arrived expecting to find primitives, now asked questions with the enthusiasm of students discovering a new field of study. Their earlier arrogance had been replaced by genuine curiosity. In the engineering lab, the project coordinator shared some of their early failed experiments. She showed them burned-out prototypes and data from spectacular failures, explaining how each setback had pushed them to think differently. The Arcturian leaders exchanged looks that needed no translation. They were beginning to understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just technology, but persistence. A young engineer demonstrated the quantum field manipulators, explaining how they had discovered the principles by accident while trying to solve a completely different problem. The Arcturian scientists crowded around, their previous confidence forgotten as they witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about physics. The tour reached the Storm Control Center, where specialists monitored the complex systems that had so thoroughly demonstrated Earth's capabilities. The alien leaders studied the displays with new eyes, seeing not just the technology, but the creativity behind it. Their own rigid approach to advancement certainly seemed limited in comparison. One of the Arcturian scientists, younger than the others, asked permission to share some readings with the human team. As information began flowing between the two species, the project coordinator smiled. This was what humanity had always dreamed of, not just reaching the stars, but sharing knowledge with those they met there. The quantum core's steady pulse provided a backdrop to conversations that grew increasingly animated. Engineers from both species found common ground in their love of solving problems, even if their approaches had been vastly different. Cultural barriers began to fade in the face of shared scientific curiosity. Near the end of the tour, the Arcturian Supreme Commander paused by a viewport overlooking Earth. The alien leader spoke softly about how they had conquered 17 worlds without ever really stopping to learn from them. Humanity's quantum breakthrough had done more than just halt their advance, it had forced them to confront their own stagnation. In that moment, watching Earth's clouds swirl below and the stars shine above, everyone present felt the shift in the universe's balance. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest or submission, but by daring to think differently. The project coordinator thought of all the children back on Earth who would grow up in a universe that was suddenly much larger and more interesting than anyone had imagined. The signing of the Quantum Technology Exchange Treaty took place in a specially prepared chamber aboard the Prometheus. Sunlight streamed through the reinforced windows, catching both the crystalline forms of the Arcturian delegates and the polished surfaces of human technology. The project coordinator held the digital tablet containing the treaty, marveling at how much had changed in just a few days. Around the chamber, representatives from both species gathered to witness history being made. Human engineers stood shoulder to shoulder with their alien counterparts, already deep in discussions about future collaborations. The quantum core's gentle hum provided a fitting backdrop to this moment of unprecedented cooperation. The treaty itself was remarkably simple for something so important. Earth would share its breakthrough quantum storm technology, while the Arcturians would open their vast knowledge of space travel to humanity. But more than that, both species committed to exploring the stars together, combining their unique approaches to science and discovery. In the ship's common areas, crew members celebrated in their own quiet ways. A young engineer finally called home, telling her grandfather how his crazy theories about quantum mechanics had helped shape the technology that saved Earth. In the mess hall, someone had put up a hand-drawn sign reading "First Day of Peace" with today's date. The Arcturian Supreme Commander spoke to the assembled crowd, admitting something unprecedented, that their civilization had grown complacent in its power. Humanity's innovative approach to quantum physics had shown them that true advancement comes not from perfecting the known, but from daring to explore the impossible. Down in the quantum core chamber, joint teams were already forming. Human engineers explained their intuitive leaps and theoretical breakthroughs, while Octarian scientists shared their centuries of accumulated knowledge. The exchange of ideas flowed as freely as the energy coursing through the ship's systems. The project coordinator walked through the ship's corridors, remembering the day 15 years ago when this all began in a cramped underground lab. They had started with nothing but theories and determination, facing ridicule from those who said it couldn't be done. Now those same theories had not only saved Earth, but opened up the galaxy. In the observation deck, crew members watched as the Octarian fleet began to withdraw, their crystal ships now moving in a peaceful formation. But two vessels remained behind, designated for scientific exchange and cooperation. The sight of human and alien ships floating together in Earth's orbit symbolized the beginning of a new era. Communications started flowing freely between the species. The Octarians shared star charts of systems they had explored, while human scientists proposed new applications for quantum technology that their alien counterparts had never considered. Each side found themselves learning and teaching in equal measure. The project coordinator received a message from Earth. Schools around the world were already updating their science curricula. Children who had gone to bed fearing alien invasion woke up to a future filled with possibilities. The stars had transformed from a source of threat to a promise of adventure. In the ship's garden module, an Octarian scientist studied Earth plants with fascination, while a human botanist explained photosynthesis. These small moments of shared curiosity and understanding proved that the treaty was more than just words on a screen. It was the beginning of true cooperation between species. As the day drew to a close, the project coordinator stood at her favorite viewport, watching Earth rotate below. The quantum core's steady pulse reminded her of a heartbeat, the heartbeat of a ship that had done more than just defend humanity. The Prometheus had shown that the greatest power wasn't in weapons or conquest, but in the ability to imagine and create something new. As stars began appearing in the darkening sky, she smiled, knowing that humanity's greatest adventures were just beginning.